On November 15, 2020, the largest trade agreement in the world was signed. RCEP, a short for Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, is a treaty involving 15 countries and accounts for almost a third of the world's population and 29% of the planet's GDP. In addition to being the largest trade agreement on the planet, it causes a lot of controversy, as it does not include the United States or the European Union and is led by China. This may seem obvious when we understand that this is an Asian agreement and that neither the United States nor the European Union are in Asia. However, this was a region of great interest to the United States until recently. Although this agreement has actually been signed recently, it has been discussed since 2012 as a way for China, the largest importer and exporter in the region, to oppose the influence that the United States had been exercising in Asia. But it was of little interest until recently. Does this agreement really aim to facilitate trade between these nations? Or is it just a way of giving free access to China to a dozen smaller countries to mask the origin of their products, just when big economies want to impose barriers on their products? To understand what happened so that this gigantic agreement would suddenly be discussed again and it's now signed, we need to go back a little bit in time and understand what led us to get here. In February of 2016, a commercial agreement was proposed called Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP. The idea was to expand the Trans-Pacific Strategic Economic Partnership Agreement, TPSEP, also known as Pacific 4, which included Brunei, Chile, New Zealand, and Singapore. The former president of the United States, Barack Obama, was committed to expand this agreement to a total of 12 countries, and thus leading the expansion of global trade and not letting China do so. The TPP, in addition to the four nations of the Pacific Four, Brunei, Chile, New Zealand, and Singapore, would also include Australia, Canada, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, Peru, Singapore, Vietnam, and of course, the United States. According to the Washington Post, Barack Obama knew that there were great economic opportunities abroad, precisely in the Asia-Pacific region, which was becoming the most populous and profitable market in the world. According to the article, the TPP would benefit American industry and make things difficult for competing economies, especially China. The deal would be the largest trade deal in the world, accounting for 40% of the global economy. However, Barack Obama's vision did not happen, as in late 2016, Donald Trump was elected and he disagreed with the now ex-president.
America first. America first.
While Obama argued that the agreement would reduce the cost of goods and increase American investments in the valuable Asia-Pacific region, Trump believed that American industry would migrate to these countries, reducing domestic production, wages, and increasing economic inequality. So in January of 2017, Trump jumps out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The other countries involved reviewed the terms of the agreement and moved on. But with the United States, the world's largest economic power today, outside the agreement and without political and commercial influence in the valuable Asia-Pacific region, China turns its eyes to the region. The newly signed treaty RCEP includes 15 countries: China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and all the 10 members of the Asian Economic Bloc, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which are Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Although this treaty was in fact signed recently, it has been discussed since 2012. As a way for China, the region's largest importer and exporter, to oppose the influence that the United States had been exercising there during the Obama administration. However, like all TPP proceedings, this treaty was left out and forgotten. However, with Trump leaving the TPP due to his nationalism, interest in a treaty that had China as a partner grew rapidly. Although 2/3 of the countries involved are already part of an organization, the ASEAN, the new agreement will greatly simplify free trade in the region. Free trade between Asian members had a big issue until now. According to Deborah Elms from the Asian Trade Center to the BBC in Singapore, Existing free trade agreements are often very complex compared to RCEP. This is because trade without tariffs, or free trades if you will, occurred only when products were 100% manufactured in countries participating in the bloc. In the case of a product that was manufactured in an Asian country, if it contained any component manufactured abroad, such as Australia or China, it could be subjected to tariffs. With the new agreement, this tends to not occur anymore, since the main component suppliers are part of it. One of the most interesting facts is that India originally was supposed to be a part of the agreement but ended up deciding to stay out of it. And the reason for that is something that should concern others. From the beginning of the discussions for the formation of the new bloc, India was present, until at the end of 2019, when things were moving forward, she decided to leave. India's concern has always been the same. Who the f would benefit from this agreement? China is the most populous country in the world, with 1.44 billion inhabitants. India is a close second, with 1.36 billion. Both account for more than a third of the world's population, with about 36%. Although both have an equally gigantic population, the Chinese economy is up to 5 times bigger than India's, if we analyze the nominal GDP. A staggering difference considering that in '87, both nations were practically identical economically. According to India's ambassador to Singapore, Javed Ashrav, for Channel News Asia, the RCEP trade agreement would potentially be very unfavorable for India, as it could mean a flood of Chinese products in the country, whether directly from China or indirectly passing by other countries to mask the origin, a practice that is already quite common. Throughout the negotiations, a series of proposals were made to put in place a few safeguards to prevent Chinese products from flooding the Indian market. However, this did not happen, as it is clearly not something interesting for China. This concern of India is due to the fact that it already has a giant trade deficit. According to the website Business Standard, this deficit broke the record in 2018 of $176 billion. The trade deficit is the balance between imports and exports. It is common for a country like India with a giant population to import more than export, especially when we talk about inputs and machinery to increase production and infrastructure in the country. However, when this balance is mainly in consumer goods, it can be worrying in the long run, harming India's national industry. Of the 176 billion trade deficit in 2018, more than 30% was from China, a deficit of 53.56 billion. In addition, with the almost total reduction in import taxes from the RCEP, India would lose a major source of government revenue, which would result in a loss in the billions of dollars, money that can be very well used in infrastructure and industrialization to strengthen its domestic market. So, who would really benefit from this agreement? Clearly, it was structured around another existing agreement, the ASEAN. However, the economy of the 10 countries that are part of the bloc is very different from the 5 giants that now join them. In practice, South Korea, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and China already had agreements with the Asian bloc, but with a series of restrictions and bureaucracies involved, which will be greatly simplified. Does this agreement really aim at a bilateral gain between these nations? Or is it just a way for China to take control of this developing region, dump its products freely in their economy, or even use them to mask the real origin of their products, to bypass any trade barriers imposed against China? If you like videos like this and think they're important, leave a like and share it with a friend to help spread the word. Click on the screen to watch any of the recommended videos, and I see you there in just a few seconds. That's it for me. That's it for this video. I see you on the next one.